Today I fucked up by punching my racist brother-in-law into the hospital and refusing to paying the bill. Obligatory, did not happen today, but a few days ago, and throwaway account. Also, I don't often use Reddit, so bear with me. Bit of backstory. I, 28M, have been dating my girlfriend, 28F, for a few years now, and between just the two of us, everything is perfectly fine. No issues 95% of the time. The only problem that we do have is her immediate family, parents, siblings. I'm white and originally Dutch, she's originally Japanese. Between us we don't care, but her family does. Especially at first her family was against her dating a white boy. She ignored them, and for the most part so did I. Over the few years her father has started to warm up to me slowly, but both her mother and brother still dislike me an awful lot. The mom just gives me the silent treatment most of the time, but her brother is sometimes downright racist towards me, my family, he never met them, and culture. Now to the actual event. A couple of days ago we were at the in-laws' place for dinner in an attempt, NR 100 it feels like, to find some mutual respect. Dill was fine with it and talked to me. Mill was ignoring me half the time. And brother-in-law gave me angry stares. After a while he started to go off on a racist tirade against me and, all you white people, and I had enough of it. I stood up for myself, and my girlfriend backed me up. Eventually brother-in-law stood up and walked up to me and GF. In a reflex I stood up as well. After some insults in Japanese, I'm learning the language but no idea what he said, my girlfriend told him to fuck off. He then slapped her in her face and spat in mine. He didn't slap her hard, but hard enough to be audible. Now, I am at least a full head taller than him and almost twice as broad, so when I punched him in the face, he was immediately knocked out. I left with my girlfriend in tow. I was shaking and couldn't drive so she drove us home, while fully assuring me she's on my side. Yesterday I received a message from the ILs and they now demand I pay the hospital bill since I apparently fractured his cheekbone. I have no intention to pay it, and when my girlfriend read it she also was like, fuck that. I'm not sure what to do and I feel like shit now, especially since I was starting to actually get along well with her father. That progress seems to be undone now. And #X200B. Too long did not read. I punched my racist brother-in-law over dinner after he was especially racist and assaulted my GF. Now the ILs expect me to pay the hospital bill. Girlfriend is on my side though. Edit, update. Thanks for the support folks. I didn't expect it to blow up like this. Girlfriend and I have talked about it and also contacted the ILs with the request to sit down and talk about this whole thing. We heard that both her parents were shocked at how far this had apparently escalated and agreed that we should sit down and talk this out. Neither side wants to involve any kind of authority, so that is good to hear. We do still cover our bases and we haven't made any promises, but I'm somewhat optimistic at this. This is the first time they actively want to talk to me, especially the mill. We'll see how it goes. Also, I know they're not in-laws technically, but it's easier to write Bill rather than girlfriend's mother or girlfriend's brother. You might want to talk to a lawyer. While it sounds like self-defense, in many places being spat on is assault. I would cover your bases. If someone gave me the silent treatment half the time and another person giving me angry vibes, I would not hang out there again. I understand you are doing it for your GF, who by the way sounds solid. But life is a real place and the people did show you who they are. All in all, you did good. You got some respect. You found out your girlfriend is a keeper and they found out you ain't weak. Even if you aren't welcome there again, it is for the better. As an attorney, just not your attorney, I would strongly suggest you don't post about this anymore or put anything about it into writing, texts if you are worried about a lawsuit in the future. I was all set to agree that you'd need to pay, but dude, he hit his sister and spat at you? That's insane. He deserved it and he's lucky that's all he got. In my country spitting at someone is classed as assault. Don't pay the bill. You'd be admitting you're in the wrong by doing that and you're not. Bill is racist and disrespectful. He got what he deserved. Was only a matter of time before someone did what you did. Not a fuck up dude. Her brother was asking to be knocked the fuck out by the sounds of it. That's what he gets for being a racist bigot. Talk to her dad separately. He seems like a nice guy. Just calmly explain why you did it but don't pay the medical bill. Today I fucked up by using the word browski. I am 18, will turn 19 this year, also pan and ace. Not everyone wants to fuck everyone they like. I never posted about having an husband. 'Cause I never had one. Am I the asshole bots posts a comment of post if you ever delete it, so you can double check it like that. I started dating my, now ex-boyfriend a week ago. We were chillin' in my house, watching Markiplier, eating noodles, everything that I wanted from a relationship. I was on the couch and he was coming from the kitchen. I pointed at the remote and said, "Pass the remote, browski." He looked at me, shocked. I thought it was because I demanded him. I said, "Please?" He asked me why the fuck I called him, bro. I didn't know he would act like it, so I apologized, told him I would never call him, bro, again, and smiled. He laughed saying there's no, again, and left. But today, a friend of ours said he wanted to call me and ask me to apologize. Told them to make he do it. He did call me. I answered the phone. "What's up, browski?" He had a meltdown. But I got kicked out of the groups for triggering him. I lost most of my friends and my boyfriend over a stupid word. One of my sides is bliming me and the other one is wanting to mess with him more. Some info. We have been friends with them for over 10 years. We are from the same neighborhood. My ex is a friend's friend. We opened a group called Queer Folks and added him there. We have been friends for over 4 years. We had fights as friends, but after all always sat down and made jokes in the group. We flirted for a month and decided to date when everything went well. Some people wanted more details, but only detail I can give is I called him browski a lot of times, and a day before this happened, we were playing codenames and one of friend's fav food was there, so I said, "Aren broski's fav food," and he laughed. I, to the group, taught them this word and it doesn't have a meaning in Turkish. Update. My friend saw the posts, they apologized. No word from my ex, but I got added back to the GC and pretty sure he was online for a good 10 minutes. And I learned his side. His side, as my friend told. He was having a rough day and told me that he did, so we met up, played games, made food, yada yada, and then I said, "Browski, go out." He was shocked and wasn't angry at browski, and then I said, "Browski," again, so he asked me to not say that word, and why was I angry at him? I screamed and told him to F off while calling him browski. He cried the whole night and had to tell this to GC. To me this is bullshit, and both my exes defended me knowing I wouldn't do such a thing. My guess of my friends believing him without listening to me is that he is a man. Won't be too close with them from now on. AL significant other, thanks for rewards and kind messages. Too long, did not read. I called my boyfriend a word he hated. Cause our relationship to end. Didn't apologize and lost my whole friend group. Please text him and tell him he's brovereacting. Sounds like he's not your buddy, guy. Why does he hate that word so much? Really doesn't sound like a fuck up. Seems like a giant red flag. Sounds like you really broke him. For the life of me, I can't figure out what could possibly be wrong with that word. If he didn't want to explain why it was a problem, it sounds like you dodged a bullet there. Today I fucked up letting my fiancé use my computer. Obligatory didn't happen today. This happened about 3-4 years ago, but I'm finally at a good enough stage in my life where I can talk about it, as it is equal parts tragic as it is ridiculous and hilarious. So one day my fiancé needed to borrow my computer since hers had apparently broken and she had a number of projects she needed to complete. Wanting to get a good future husband, I gave her the password and figured she would just use what she needed and wouldn't need to go off the reservation, so to speak. Afterwards she was fairly distant and seemed really upset about something, but kept insisting that we would talk about it later. Maybe a week or two later I get a call from her asking me to come to my parents' house right away. I'm thinking that someone is hurt, dead, or at the very least something serious had happened. I arrived and my whole family, which includes my 2 older sisters, my mom and dad, and of course my fiancé. They sit me down and I'm preparing myself to hear some kind of bad news, only to discover that this is actually an intervention. Right about now you're probably wondering what this intervention is about. Well, during my fiancé's time using my laptop, she had, accidentally, opened one of my old documents. In this document contained one of my old posts from when I used to do erotic role-playing on a certain website, which will not be named. The main issue is that this post was for a non-consensual fantasy, which of course was a bit of a shock to my fiancé, but instead of just closing it out, she decided to do a deep dive and dig for more. From there she found more old posts as well as my porn and hentai folder, most of which were of a non-consensual nature that made my fiancé sick to her stomach. You're probably wondering why I needed the docs or kept them on my laptop. The answer to that is 1. I needed to use spellcheck because I'm a shitwriter. 2. I had been too lazy to delete them since I figured, who's gonna see it other than me? The intervention essentially consisted of each person going around the room telling me how much they loved me, how they wanted me to get help, with some of them giving me a recommendation for a psychologist. When it was finally my turn to talk, I'm understandably pretty flustered, mortified, embarrassed, etc., and pretty clumsily try to explain that it's all fantasy, that I know the difference between fantasy and reality, and I do not actually want to hurt or prey upon women. It's important to note that my fiancée, while she's into nerdy stuff like science and mathematics, that's pretty much where her nerdiness ends. She isn't into the part of nerd and weeb culture that involves sci-fi, anime, video games, etc., so trying to explain all my weird kinks and fantasies to both her and my very straight-laced family is not going very well at all, as they mostly keep telling me that I'm in denial. After about an hour of being in the hot seat, my fiancée decides she's going to reveal the smoking gun and starts reading back to me one of my posts that she had printed out, which in turn caused me to storm out, get in my car and drive around aimlessly for hours, going through just about every type of emotion you can imagine. To make a long story slightly shorter, we ended up breaking off the engagement, since she couldn't be with me if I wouldn't get help, and I couldn't exactly forgive her for laying out my dirty laundry for my whole family. I had to move out since the apartment we were renting was in her name, and staying with my family wasn't an option, since they've mostly cut off contact. Luckily, I've got a good group of friends that helped me get back on my feet, and I'm currently dating someone who I have much more in common with. Too long did not read. Let ex-fiancé use my computer where she found a bunch of kinky stuff which ultimately led to engagement being called off and being alienated from my family. Edit. Since apparently there's some misconceptions or confusion going on, let me clarify. What I enjoy is called consensual non-consent or CNC. I do not have actual non-consensual porn on any of my devices. Actual instances of non-consensual acts make me sick and I feel should be punishable by death. I have no intention of assaulting anyone, nor do I advocate for it. The online roleplays I was engaged in were a fantasy and pretend between two consenting adults. And lastly, the hentai and porn I consume is fairly mild and vanilla as far as CNC goes. I don't know who needed to read this, but there it is. Also fixed some grammar. If anyone ever asks me to be part of an intervention for a family member's kinks, I am immediately burying my head in a bucket of lava and asking them what makes them think I need to know about a family member's kinks. I can understand her shock at finding the folder. I've written pretty vanilla erotica before, but the hentai stuff always weirded me out, just being upfront about my feelings and perspective, so I understand her shock. Shit got real weird though when she didn't just talk to you about it, but had to loop your whole family in and parade you, and your erotica, in front of them, making some wild assumptions about what this all means. Rather than just bring it up between you two first. Sorry op. Also, who the hell goes digging through someone's computer? That's just rude and a violation of personal space. This seems more like their fuck up than yours, to be honest. Erotic roleplay. I put on my robe and wizard hat. For those who find themselves in a similar situation where someone needs unsupervised access to your PC, it takes very little time to create a new user to let them use. As a fellow erotica writer, I am so fucking sorry this happened to you. What you write is in no way a one-to-one reflection of things you do IRL. If she wanted to leave, fine, and I'm sorry about that, but she had no right to do that to you, especially bringing it to your parents. I know this was a few years ago, but still. Y'all are adults, and they all need to act like it. You don't need therapy because you write kink. Even if it's taboo, most therapists even encourage writing that stuff as a way to explore it safely. Mine certainly have before. I'm glad you found better people less than 3. Today I fucked up by allowing my partner to pull on my nipples. Today my partner and I were getting a little rowdy in bed. I haven't seen him in quite some time due to our work schedules, so it was definitely a day to rekindle the relationship. Now, I've got nipple piercings. I've had them for a few years, maybe 4 if I'm not mistaken, and my partner, and past partners, has been very careful not to be so rough with my breasts. Today we were in the heat of the moment though. He asked if he could touch, I said yes. Then, it happened. In a Twilight Zone-like twist his hand slipped and somehow my nipple piercing got torn. I didn't feel it, but I knew it happened because I could smell the blood. I am not a shark. I just have a sensitive nose. I didn't know a nipple piercing could gush so much blood, but holy crap did it make an absolute mess. I am not currently in the walk-in clinic with a bandage and gauze taped to my nipple, with my partner who looks absolutely petrified. Edit. To save people some time, I have nipple piercings because I like them and I wanted them. I didn't think I would have to explain that, so I'm writing it here so everyone knows I got the piercings because I like them. Not for any other reason. I'm not here to hear, "It's such a trashy piercing. Women are supposed to be dainty and pure." This isn't Ask Reddit and I'm not asking for opinions on nipple piercings. Oh, and edit number 2. For the people that think my boundaries are out of line. Evidently I was trying to prevent something stupid from possibly happening. If I don't want my boobs touched, I don't think that's a hard ask. Touch anywhere else but that area. People are really making a big deal about such a small ask that my partner has no problem with. Consent is key. I allowed him to do it and I ended up in the walk-in clinic for a good 4 hours with a ripped nipple. Too long did not read. Be careful with hand placements when you have nipple piercings. RIP. Jesus. I glanced at the title and read, parents, instead of partner. This is why I don't want piercings or a partner with piercings. This is my exact nightmare. I've had my nips pierced for 7 years now. I can't picture how someone could accidentally rip one with their hand even when rough. What kind of jewelry do you have? I just have the bars and the only time they have gotten caught was on shower loofahs. Having bars that are too long or those crescent rings could possibly cause this, but if the bar is short enough it shouldn't get caught on things as much. This sounds terrible. I hope it heals okay. I am not a shark, Op is a shark. Wow. Based on part experience I'm guessing there was a lot of force. No, I don't go around attacking nipple piercings but mine used to be pierced and have got caught in the past with no rips. This does remind me of an incident with an ex where her bar piercing got in my BCR whilst we were engaged in sexy time that wasn't overly fun in the moment.